Right, for you guys that are uh, using the PowerPoint or going working off the website, you can scan this QR code and it's going to take you to this very same PowerPoint on YouTube. All right, so let's get into this. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Share this video, like this video. Thank you. Let's get into this. So right now, the pre-trip inspection, right? We're doing the passenger pre-trip inspection to get the passenger endorsement. In order to get the passenger endorsement, you have to do the endorsement test, get the endorsement on there, but to be able to get the restriction that it says, if you get it on there, you don't, it's going to have a restriction, no passengers. So you have to you got to do the uh, pre-trip inspection, the maneuvers, and the road test to be full-fledged passenger endorsement. Okay, let's get going. We come into the bus, as we're coming into the inside of the bus, because we're starting on the inside, you got your stairs and your handrails. They're both securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. The entry steps are clean and clear. The tread is not loose or worn. Neither are the handrails. The handrails are also the handrails are not loose or worn also. The seats. We go in, the first thing we're going to check, we're going to check for the seats. The seats in the aisles, right? Seats on either side in the aisles. What about the seats? The bus seating, seats in the aisles. They're both securely mounted to floor, not broken, not cracked. The seat cushions are secured to the seat frames. There is no missing hardware such as seat belts and or fasteners on the legs of the seats. The legs they're bolted down to the floor, and for the most part, those bolts are bolted onto the cross members underneath where the frame and the cross members meet. The seats are bolted down from the top to bottom. And your aisle is clear of obstructions. Now we got your emergency exits, right? You got your seating. Now you got your emergency exits. There's the back door. Then there's three window exits, and then two rooftop exits for emergency exits. What about them? The bus emergency exits. You're going to check one. You're going to tell the examiner you will check them all, all eight the same way. They're securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. The exits are locked, closed. You're going to demonstrate how to open and close either one of your choice. You can either do the window or you can do the rooftop. Uh, there's no missing labels or instructions. And you got to walk to the back door and make sure it opens and closes, and it has that warning buzzer. Now people walk to the back and they open the door and then they check the rooftop emergency exit. Okay, let's keep going. This is what the rooftop exit looks like, right? The instructions are right here. This is what the window exit looks like. This is what the back door looks like. You have when they pull that, the alarm is going to go off. It's going to have like a buzzer. You might have to get when you walk in the bus, turn the ignition, because the ignition might have to be turned on for this to activate. So when you get in the bus, turn the switch. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% sure. Now you're gonna walk back up to the bus. You're gonna sit in the seat using your 3 points of contact, and you're gonna put on your seatbelt. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna safe start the bus. Uh, if it's an automatic bus, all buses are automatic. So you're gonna have to tell the examiner, "Hey, I'm gonna check to see if my bus is in neutral." As soon as I finish turning my key, at the same time that my key is gonna go off, my ABS light on my dash is gonna come on and off. My DEF indicators, diesel exhaust fluid, the indicators would come on and off to make sure they're working properly. Unfortunately, with an automatic, you can't tell if it's in neutral until you turn the key. So then you're going to turn the key, you're going to let you're going to let the bus cycle. You're going to hear chick, 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 chick. Those are the ABS modules talking to one another. And then you can see if the little light comes on. If it's a newer bus, the new buses should have diesel exhaust fluid. So the little DEF light will come on. If it's below 2011, you don't need you don't have diesel exhaust fluid. Let's go ahead. We just cycled the bus. We're going to turn the bus on. Boom. My ABS light and DEF light came on and off. They're working properly. We're good to go. Bus. You turn the bus on. The bus is running. You're building up air. Now, what I do in this buildup, as the air is building up, I'm going to check all my in-cab items, right? I got my lights. I'm going to turn on my lights. I got my low beam, my high beam, my left turn signal, my right turn signal. And I got my emergency lights or my four-way flashers. I got my safety equipment, right? Safety equipment consists of three things. I got my spare fuses are in cab somewhere. I got my three reflective triangles, right? They're securely mounted. Uh, and I got my fire extinguisher. It's fully charged and it's secured. I got my windshield and my traffic monitoring devices. They're both securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. They're clean and clear. My windshield has no obstructions. And my mirrors are adjusted to the driver. My wipers and washers, they're also securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. They work and they squirt. My heater and defrost, you turn on. Sometimes the bus might have for both functions, either that or you're going to have to do it. You're going to check it individually. You're going to wave your hand above, wave your hand below, and you're going to say they're working properly if they are working properly. Your city horn, you're going to just beep the horn, beep, beep. And you're going to say my city horn, my horn is working properly. This is when you're sitting down on the bus, like a brief breakdown, the different type of buses. You have a bunch of control panels here, things for the doors, the light switches for when it's a school bus. There's like a control panel there. And then you have your light switches, your control panel, you got your horn, right? Your safety equipment, you got the wipers and washers, you got the windshield and your traffic monitoring devices, right? You got these two mirrors, your windshield. You got a lot of things going on. Now the next thing we're talking about is your passenger monitoring devices. You know, all mirrors, internal and external, properly mounted and secured or securely mounted. The mirrors and brackets Not broken or cracked. There's no missing hardware. The mirrors are clean and clear, and they're adjusted to the driver. This overhead mirror and these mirrors, the two outside mirrors, you're going to use those. But this one right here is important. You have to use your overhead, and it has to be uh, aligned correctly. So my overhead and all my mirrors on the outside and inside. As the truck's building up air, right? We're watching the truck build up air. The governor kicks in. I look down at the dash. I see my air pressure kicked in. I'm looking there. I say, okay, man, that's right. That's right within range. If it's within range, I'm going to tell the examiner, my governor kicked in. It is between 120 and 140, or, it's proper range, working properly. Only if it's not within range do you have to explain what's there, right? Governor kicks in, proper range, working properly. The next thing you're doing your air leak test, right? The bus is building up air. Uh, the governor kicks in, boom. You're at full governor pressure. How do you check for leaks? You have to turn the bus off. You're gonna put your foot on the brake pedal, on your foot pedal. You're gonna put your foot on your foot pedal. Right? You're gonna put your foot on the foot pedal. You're gonna turn the bus off. You're gonna turn the bus back on, and you're gonna tell him or her. You're gonna say, "Okay, Mr. Examiner, uh, you push in the button, push your foot on the brake, turn the bus off, turn the key to accessory." You're gonna tell the examiner, after the initial loss of air, I should not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute. So you're gonna push in the yellow valve. You're gonna push it in. You're gonna hear shh, and you're gonna wait until the air stops moving through the system and it stabilizes. Once it stabilizes, you start your countdown. Then you sit there for a whole minute. You sit and hold for a minute. Right? The alarm came on, the 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. You did not see the needles move. You did not hear no leaks coming from outside the bus. So if you're in the proper range, you're working properly. The next thing that we do, we're checking our air warning device, which is our low air warning alarm. Now, without restarting the engine, you're going to fan your brakes until the alarm comes on at 55 psi and above. You're going to explain the results. If the alarm comes on above 55, whatever it says here, hey, my governor kicked in, or my alarm came on, it's above 55 psi, uh, proper range, working properly, right? The next thing we're going to check, you're going to check for your emergency brake. Your emergency brake is the same thing as your spring brake. So you're going to continue to fan the brakes. Not, you're going to go slowly. That yellow button should pop out between 20 and 45 psi. If it's within range, you're just going to tell the examiner, hey, the governor, the button popped out, my spring brake popped out. It's at the proper range, working properly. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna check our bus parking brake. So now we have to safe start the bus, put the bus, make sure the bus is in. When you have the ignition on, you're gonna make the buses in neutral. The brakes are popped out. They should have popped out. Make sure the brake popped out. You're gonna go ahead and fire up the bus again. You're gonna leave the bus running, and you're gonna build up the air pressure. till you're above 90 psi. Now, during the buildup, if you haven't already done the in-cab check items, you can go ahead and recheck the stuff that you didn't get the first time. When I did this video, I had completely forgot one thing, and I had to start this video like 3 times. So even me, I can forget things. That's why you go by the list, right? Let's go to the next slide. Your bus parking brake test, right? Now, when you just safe started the bus is building up here. You're above 90 psi. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to tug against your bus brake. Remember, the valve already popped out, so all you have to do is put the bus in from neutral to gear, and then you're gonna softly push down on the throttle, which is the accelerator. You're gonna push down on the throttle. The bus might not even move, or it might make a little like a little like a little jerk or something. My bus did not move. The bus brakes are working properly, right? Now I'm gonna check my service brake, right? Because the bus it has two type of brakes. It has an emergency brake when the air pressure when the bus loses all the air pressure, the button pops out. Now when you push the button in, you're pushing you're you're releasing the emergency brakes, and then the foot pedal is your service brake. Now we're going to check to make sure that our service brake is working properly. You let the air pressure build up to above 90. You're going to put the bus in gear, and you're going to pull forward, and you're going to go above 9. You're going to go above 5 miles per hour, and you're going to kind of hold the steering wheel in your hand, but very loosely. You're going to pull forward. You're going to come to a smooth stop. The steering wheel did not move left or right. That means the bus is not out of alignment, and the bus stopped. My bus brakes are working properly, and I did not have my steering wheel did not move left or right. So now you're going to step out of the vehicle, and then you're going to check your lenses, right? All your lenses consist of all the lights. You got here, you got your clearance lights, all your lenses, right? And then at the same time, you're looking underneath the bus. Underneath the bus, the bus should be sitting level. There should be from front to back, side to side. Here, there's 3 panels here that you push in to pop the panels out this is where your coolant reservoir is. You got your radiator, and then you got your uh, wiper motor reservoir. So what about your lenses? All my lenses in the front of the bus, all of them, they're all securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. They all of the proper color. None of them are missing, and they're all clean and clear. You got like your fluid levels, right? There's 3 things you're checking for the fluid levels. You can combine them or you can separate them. At the beginning, you can learn them separated, and then later on, you can combine them as long as you say the proper verbiage. And if there's any descriptive words or keywords, like here on the coolant, you got the coolant reservoir, and then you got the power steering reservoir. Those keywords there are going to be proper level, right? Because you got your coolant, you got your power steering reservoir, and you have your dipstick. So let's see, what are we talking about for the coolant and the power steering reservoir? Right, the coolant and the power steering reservoirs are behind these little service panels. There's a panel in the front and there's one off to the right. My coolant and my power steering reservoirs. They're both securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. My caps are tight. My hoses are not leaking. They're at the proper level between add and full because I can see they're clear. Next slide. Now this is going to be a little bit awkward because when we're checking the oil pressure, or we're doing two things inside the inside the bus. There's like they call it a doghouse. This has a panel. You actually open up the floor panel, and right here you can see you got your automatic transmission fluid, and you have your dipstick, your oil dipstick. So you're gonna say you're gonna already have checked when you're inside the cab. You're gonna check this before you get out, and you get out to walk outside. You're gonna check your oil. You're gonna open up the floor panel. You're gonna say, "All right, Mr. Examiner, I'm gonna check my oil." You don't have to do it. You're just gonna explain how you do it. I'm gonna pull out my dipstick. I'm gonna wipe it clean. I'm gonna reinsert it. I'm gonna pull it back out, and I'm gonna make sure it's between minimum and maximum. So remember, when you're talking about checking your oil, you can also mention to the examiner, Mr. Examiner, here in the part of the motor that I can see, I'm looking for any uh, visible oil leaks or any fluid leaks that are coming from my engine and transmission, and I'm also listening for any air leaks that are coming from both. All right, the dipstick, you're gonna tell them what you're gonna do. Securely mounted. Pull it out, clean it, put it back in. You're gonna check to make sure it's at the proper level between add and full, hot and cold, or what have you. So remember, you were looking at also when you're looking at the power steering reservoir. You can open up this little panel and then pop out the. You can see a little bit more of the motor. I mean, these buses they're super cramped. So you're gonna say, hey, my engine and transmission, right? My engine and transmission securely mounted, not cracked, not broken. Let's go. So, what we say about the engine and transmission? You got hoses that come from the different components on the engine, and you got your airlines that you can see. Uh, they're like round and about. Uh, what are we checking for my fluid and air leaks? Right? Engine and transmission. They're what? They're both securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. I don't see leaks of fluids. I do not hear any air leaks. That's what you're checking for when you're checking for fluid and air leaks. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now we're looking for the steering system, right? The steering system. These buses, they got like a really, really set back axle. The steering gearbox, you gotta kind of like squeeze your head in there to see it. Your steering gearbox is around here, and then you got your 5-piece steering linkage. None of that stuff is visible from the outside. Sometimes even if you turn this wheel, you would just be able to see just a little bit of it. You would have to actually jack the bus up or stick your head underneath there. We're not going to do that for the test. This is another how the screen looks. You got the column, the gearbox, you got the linkages, right? You see all that stuff there. Remember the gearbox. What about the gearbox? It's securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. It has no leaks coming from the gearbox. The hoses from the gearbox to the reservoir, they're securely mounted. They also have no cuts, no tears, no leaks. We got the linkage, which is also behind the tire. You might be able to just glance and then get a little peek of the linkage, right? There's 5 parts: the 2 arms, the 2 rods, and then the tie rod. All right, my steering linkage, arms and rods, securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. My joints are not loose or worn. Castle nuts and pins, castle nuts and pins in place, and there's no missing hardware. I mean, you got your tires. And we're only checking the steer tires. We're still on the left side of the bus, right? We're checking your steer tires. Well, what about the steer tires? The tire, inside, outside, and top of tire, it's securely mounted. There's no cuts, no tears, no illegal. There's no leaks. There's no exposed wires. The tread depth on my tires, I would measure those with a tread depth gauge. They should be 4/32 or more. I want to check to make sure I have the proper inflation in my tires. I check that with the air pressure gauge. Where do I check it at? See, I got my rim. I check my air pressure gauge and my valve stem. My valve stem is also securely mounted, not cracked, not broken, no missing hardware. And then they had a uh, no missing hardware. So now when I go, now I got my rim right. I just did the tire. Oh, the tire has a proper inflation. The valve stem securely mounted, not cracked, not broken. There's no leaks coming from the valve stem. The valve stem has the cap is tight and present, and uh, you would check the air pressure with the air pressure gauge. Now we come out to the rim, right? The rim. What about my rim? I'm looking at the rim inside and outside, and I'm also looking for the bolt holes where the lug nuts and studs go through. What about the rim inside and outside of the rim? Securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. There's no illegal wells, and there's no distorted bolt holes. You got the valve stem. We're just talking about the valve stem. The valve stem. What about the valve stem? The valve stem is securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. There's no leaks. Your caps are tight and present, right? Now you got the lug nuts and studs. What about the lug nuts and studs, right? That's what holds this stud goes through the bolt holes, right? So my lug nuts and studs. What about my lug nuts and studs? They're both securely mounted. They're both not broken, not cracked. There's no missing hardware. There's no shiny treads anywhere. And there's no rust trails. That's as simple as that for the tires. Then remember, the suspension system is also back here behind the tire. We might be able to turn the tire, but we might not be able to see everything because the tire is in the freaking way. So let's look at the next slide. What are we going to do? This is from underneath the carriage, right? A typical bus of this kind. See, I got there my spring mounts front and back. I got my leaf springs. I got my shock absorber. These are U-bolts, right? Those U-bolts are going to be uh, they're going to be added back onto the modernized version of the test. So I got my U-bolts, right? What about all that stuff? This is a side view of the suspension. You got the spring mounts, front and back. You got your leaves. You got your U-bolts. They hold the leaves to that cross arm of the steering, and then right here we got our shock absorber, right? So what about all the suspension points? Well, they're all securely mounted. They're all not broken, not cracked. They all have no missing hardware. Uh, my leaf springs and U-bolts are not shifted or missing any hardware. The shock absorber, if you see the shock absorber, it's in blank, but I think she drives a motorcycle uh, to go to her day job. And then here, the whatchamacallit, you want to make sure that uh, everybody's in their assigned place. All right, so next slide over. We're talking about airbags. For the most part, I've never seen an airbag with airbags in the front seat, in the front steer tires. Some trucks do have them. And buses, for the most part, the more modern buses, they have the airbags in the back chamber. Right? So we're not worried about the airbags now. Yeah, my airbags, if they're equipped, they're what? They're securely mounted, no cuts, no tears, no leaks. There's no missing hardware. My brake line and hoses, those are also behind the tire, and it's almost impossible to see them. So what about my brake line and hoses? My brake line and hoses, they're securely mounted. No cuts, no tears, no leaks. I'm sorry. My fittings are tight and present. They supply air to my brake system. This is also that we can't see from the outside. We got the brake drum, right? The brake drum and the brake linings, which is the brake pads, brake shoes. You know, what about the brake drum and shoes? They're both securely mounted. They're both not broken, not cracked. There's no contamination on the brake drum or linings or shoes or pads, whatever you want to call them. And there's no fluid, oil, and grease, which could be on the brake pad itself. And once you do that, now we're coming to the outside of the bus. Remember I said that we're checking in all this stuff we checked here. All that stuff is on the left side of the bus. We haven't yet gone to the right side. So what's the next thing we come up to? We come up to the battery box, right? The battery box is in a little cubby hole way past the first set of tires. And in my battery box, what about my battery box, right? The batteries, they're held in place. They're kind of strapped in so they don't fall over, which means that those things were loaded to ride. So what about my battery box, right? My battery box securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. The battery box opens and closes. My cables and connections are present and tight. There's no corrosions. on my connections, and my batteries are not leaking. So now we walk around to the left side of the bus. What do we got on our checklist? The next thing that comes up on our checklist is our lenses and reflectors. Your lenses and reflectors on the one side of the bus, all of them. What about them? All my lenses and reflectors on the side of the vehicle, they're all securely mounted. They're all not broken, not cracked. They all have no, they all got the proper color. They're not missing, and they're clean and clear. Now you got your traffic devices, right? What are your traffic devices? Your traffic devices are your mirrors. Your mirrors right here on the side of the bus. What about the mirrors? My mirror and bracket, securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. It's not missing any hardware, and it's clean and clear. As we move further down the side of the bus, we got there's like a little panel right here. That's for your fuel and def tank. Right? I think that if the bus is equipped with def, this little this little uh, opening will probably big. It'll probably be wide enough to be able to have a def and a fuel tank. I mean, I don't know if for some place they might have the def tank. I don't think they're gonna have the def tank on the opposite side. It's usually always put in with the fuel tank. But if you did have the def, the diesel exhaust fluid, it's gonna be right there nestled right next to the fuel tank, where you can fill up the fuel tank. So what about my fuel and def tank? The fuel and def tank, they're both securely mounted. They both have no broken. They're not cracked. They're not broken. They're not cracked. They all have no missing hardware. Uh, the fuel tank and def tank, I'm sorry, they're not leaking from the hoses and the tanks. And your caps are tight and present, right? The next thing is your frames and cross members, right? You got the frames, you got the cross members that they work themselves into. It's gonna be, you gotta stick your head underneath the the body part of the bus, so you can see you got your frames. They go from front to back, and you got your cross members that go left to right. Here's another picture, a little bit more forward than the bus. You got the cross members, and then you got the whatchamacallit, the cross members and the frames. Looking around here, you don't see any. The bus is gonna rust for sure, but you don't see any damage, anything particular. Let's keep going. What about my frames and cross members? Remember, the frame and the cross members, like I was saying before, those frames and cross members, you kind of have to stick your head underneath the bus, within reason. You're not gonna just throw yourself on the floor. You bend down a little bit, you can see what I'm talking about. Frames and cross members, they're both securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. No missing hardware. There's no holes in the floor of the bus, and I think some of those things, in that instance, there's tack welds along the cross members and the frame. You're looking to make sure that there's no broken welds, right? So let's keep going. Now we get to the back of the bus, right? When we're looking at the back of the bus, we also has lenses and reflectors, right? You got the lights here, and you got these little ultraviolet or fluorescent lights. You want to make sure you want to make sure that all this is included in the last bit of information, right? So lenses and reflectors. I seen they were checking as we walk to the back of the bus. Is your lenses and reflectors, right? Lenses and reflectors. They're securely mounted, not broken, not cracked. They're the proper color. They're not missing, and they're clean and clear. The next thing that we check, we're going to check our bus rear emergency exit door. You want to make sure that there's nothing there that keeps it from opening. You can open and close it. I think you might not be able to do that unless you left it kind of like partially open. Uh, you might be able to pull that handle and open it out. You open and close the door. You want to make sure that it's working properly, right? You make sure you tell the kids nobody messes with the door. The door is good to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, leave them below. Thank you very much.